Hi, this is Stuart Talley. I'm the partner here responsible for the Stryker Rejuvenate and ABG2 litigation. And the reason we're doing this video today is to provide some important information about the settlement in the Stryker Rejuvenate litigation. As you may know, there are about 6,000 cases now pending in various courts around the country. Most of them are pending in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And Stryker has made a global settlement offer to anyone who had a revision surgery on their Stryker Rejuvenate before November 3rd of 2014. We've received lots of phone calls from people, our clients, and people who are trying to settle the case on their own without an attorney, and we wanted to provide some information about those questions that those people have been asking. The first thing that everyone needs to know is that there is a deadline to participate in the settlement. The deadline is March 2nd, and a lot of people were unaware of that deadline until recently. And so what's required is there is a huge amount of paperwork that needs to be submitted to the settlement claims administrator by this March 2nd deadline. What you need to submit are there's various forms that have to be filled out, but you also need to submit sufficient medical records to show that you had a Stryker Rejuvenate and that it was revised for a reason related to the recall. And there's a very specific definition of that in the settlement agreement. And so you have to submit sufficient medical records to show that you had high cobalt or chromium, and that was the reason why your hip was recalled. If you don't have that, you need to submit records showing that there was tissue damage noted in an operative report, or some other indication that your hip was revised because of metal particles as opposed to some other reason. A lot of people have been asking, you know, what is the benefit of using an attorney if I settle my case on my own? Won't I save money? And the answer is you probably will not save money if you do not use an attorney. And the reason for that is that this settlement agreement has been drafted in a way to encourage people to hire attorneys. The process of submitting the paperwork, the required medical records to the claims administrator is incredibly complex. And so the settlement agreement has been designed in a way to encourage people to use attorneys so that process goes smoothly. So what happens is if you do not have an attorney, your settlement amount, the amount you receive, will be reduced by 33% right off the top. And so most attorneys charge 33%. So you're really in the same boat doing it yourself as you are if you had an attorney. So I would encourage everyone to use an attorney if you can. The other option, the other question that has been asked by many people is, how do I make sure I'm getting everything I deserve under this settlement? And that there again is another situation where you should consider hiring an attorney to make sure that you get the most that you're entitled to under the settlement agreement. The settlement agreement's broken down into two parts. There's the base award, okay, and that's typically $300,000. And the $300,000, you would receive that if you had a Stryker hip that was revised before November 3rd. There are some minor downward adjustments for age and things like that, but most people are getting $300,000. Where you can maximize your recovery is something called the Enhanced Benefit Matrix. Okay, the settlement agreement has this somewhat complex matrix attached to it, and basically it is a list of bad things that can happen to people during revision or afterwards, and it assigns dollar values to those various bad things that can happen. To ensure that you get everything you're entitled to, it's important to have somebody look at your medical records and see if you qualify for any of those enhanced benefits. If you do, there's various paperwork and medical records that have to be submitted in a timely manner to recover those enhanced benefits. Now, another question people have been asking is, what about the timing of payment? When am I going to get paid? Okay, and that's usually the most important question in cases like this. And the answer is, under the settlement agreement, the way it's structured is that base awards will be paid by the end of the summer of this year, potentially the fall. So we're looking late summer, early fall. Now, the big caveat with that is people that submit all of the appropriate paperwork will be paid in that time frame. Okay? If you do not submit the appropriate paperwork, you don't provide sufficient medical records, or you submit them in the wrong way. There's a very detailed process on how to submit the paperwork. We've been told that you will be put to the bottom of the list. So that could greatly delay the time period in which you get paid if you don't submit your paperwork properly. Now, for the enhanced benefit part of the settlement, those payments are supposed to come in 2016, early 2016. Now, we've also been told that the timing of those payments will also be impacted by how you submit your paperwork and fill out the forms. If you make any mistakes, that could put you at the bottom of the list, and that could greatly delay when you're going to get paid. Now, the last question that many people have been asking is, what if I don't take this settlement? What if I think this settlement isn't right for me and it's not enough money? And if you fall into that category, basically you have one option, and your option is to continue with your lawsuit if you have one on file, or if you don't have a case on file, you need to get one on file right away. You do not have to take this settlement. The settlement is a settlement offer only. Nobody is required to take it. We have many clients that are not taking the settlement. We are going to be pursuing their cases, trying to get trial dates. And the biggest reason I think a lot of people are not taking the settlement is that the settlement just doesn't work for everybody. There are people that have real significant damages. They had problems after the revision that have resulted in lifelong injuries, permanent limps, pain medication for the rest of their life. Things like that that really are not adequately compensated under the settlement agreement. So most of our clients that are opting out are people who have pretty significant damages. And in those cases, we intend to pursue the case, try and get a trial date, and hopefully either get them a verdict that's more than the settlement, or a settlement down the road that's more than what's currently being offered. So if you have a Stryker Rejuvenate hip and you're having any issues at all trying to navigate this settlement, feel free to give us a call. We can provide advice on how to process paperwork, what paperwork's required, what the deadlines are. Remember, we have a deadline coming up March 2nd, so it's important to act fast. You can reach us at the phone number on the screen, or you can visit our website and fill out one of our online forms, and either I or another attorney at my firm will call you right back.